Hello gamers, and welcome back to another top 5 video, this time being a top 5 video of my favourite Game Boy / Game Boy Color games. And without further ado, let's get to number 5. Number 5, Tetris. Now, Tetris, everyone knows it. It was this game that was packed in with the original Game Boy, although that's really all it's really known for. Yes, it's the most selling popular game ever, and everyone knows how to play Tetris, but there are a few other better games. But Tetris is still phenomenon for what it did and pushed the Game Boy and all of its other members of the family to success. That's why I still enjoy it as a game on the Game Boy, and I put it at number 5. Moving on to number 4. Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Land 6 Golden Coins. This is a big improvement over the first Super Mario Land, being that it's a bit more like Super Mario World for the Game Boy-esque. It introduced Wario, it introduced Mario's own little land, Mario Land. It introduced many new power-ups like the bunny power-up. The Fire Flower made a return compared to being the Super Ball in the first Super Mario Land game. And, well, it also controls better than Mario Land 1. It has a proper Mario feel, and the levels are very, very creative. That's why I put it at number 4, since there are a few other games which are kind of similar, but I prefer them. Moving on to number 3. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. Now, this is not the original version of Link's Awakening. The original was on Game Boy. The DX version is the colour version of it, but you can also play it on Game Boy, which is weird. But it has one extra dungeon that involves colour, so really and truly it is necessary to be played on a GBC rather than an original Game Boy. But other than that, it's your usual top-down Zelda adventure for the Game Boy. Although it was basically a mashup of things that everyone wanted, because they didn't put it in Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. But there are 2 other games on this list that I prefer, and they are coming up next. They're kind of similar still, and they're from the same series as this. You probably know them, but I'll introduce them anyway as they come, to show you which I prefer. Number 4. The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. I put this one here mostly because it's more based around combat. I don't really like the combat in the top-down Zelda games. I'm not saying it's bad, I just prefer 3D combat since you got a lock-on system. But it does have its things, like it takes the elements from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where you can travel in time, as for the name, Ages, and it can be linked up with a link cable, and you have a true final boss with the game that is next on this list. But there are a few other reasons when I discuss the next game why I popped Ages here compared to the next one. And without further ado, number 5, Oracle of Ages. This one, yes, it has the same combat, but it's more focused on puzzles, which I prefer in the 2D Zelda games, being puzzles, since they're very challenging, and I enjoy a good challenge when it comes to puzzles. And Ages does have puzzles, but it's more focused on combat with bosses and stuff. As I said, I prefer the 3D games when it comes to bosses, like when you have the lock-on target thing in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I just prefer it. But overall, both the games do have their own merit, since they are sort of in the same vein together, being they were both developed by Capcom, and you could link them to actually have a true final boss, being, spoiler alert, Ganon. And it all technically, as if the Zelda timeline is true, which is kind of muddled since Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild, these 2 games are, protagonist is the same Link from A Link to the Past a Link's Awakening and the Link before Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 in the timeline. Well, that's pretty nifty, since he has many adventures under his belt. And those are my top 5 Zelda games. If you want, watch another video here. Thanks for watching.